Hi, I'm Liz. Thank you for joining me. Today we are going into the second yin yoga session of the 5 elements from our yin yoga practice. You do not have to do these in concession with one another, so you can do either one whenever you feel you need to. There is also a short little introduction video to the 5 elements and also to the meridian lines that we target with each element. Today we are going to be working with the earth element, and that is working with the spleen and the stomach meridian lines. So I hope you enjoy. I've been teaching these practices a little bit differently to how I would actually teach, and I've also been teaching it the same way when I've been teaching in person, and I'm referring to an amazing book called Power of the 5 Elements, the Chinese medicine path to healthy aging and stress resistance. The Chinese medicine theory, it's really amazing. It's really simple, works a lot with how do you manage your stress? How do you handle stress? How do you adapt to things that come your way in life? And that has a major impact on how we age and also on the internal health of our body. So how we think, how we feel, do we have good energy? Are we always fatigued? Are we optimistic or are we pessimistic? So looking at those things and just knowing that you can do things in your own life to change, if you are maybe a bit of a negative thinker, first of all, it takes that awareness of knowing that and then changing your mindset to becoming more positive, because we create our internal state in our own mind. So knowing that you've got the power over that is very powerful, and you can really change your health with these simple ways. So I hope you enjoy. So working through the earth element today, so thinking, Mother Earth, thinking mother, that motherly role, thinking being grounded, knowing yourself, being able to come back to yourself. And also the spleen, the stomach, so pretty major organs that we need for our system. So the way we digest food, and it's not just food as well, it's what we bring into our system. So what we read, what we listen to, what we watch, the people that we spend our time with, all that digesting through our system. And then our spleen filters our blood and also plays a major role with our lymphatic system, which is also playing a major role with our immune system. So can we fight off infections coming into our body? So I hope you enjoy. So finding a comfortable position, you can either stay seated, you can lay down for now. I'm going to map out the stomach and the spleen meridian lines. You can visualize this if that works for you. Some days visualization for me works really well, other days I just can't do it. So just listening to it, or you can kind of go wherever you need to go. Just that intention though of kind of knowing where they are, and then as we go into the shapes, you're going to be aware of that because you'll be knowing, oh hang on, we're working through that channel. Okay, so closing the eyes down if that feels okay. If not, coming into a soft gaze. Bringing some awareness into your breathing. You might take a few breaths in through the nose and out of the mouth. And then when you're ready, starting to breathe nostrily, breathing nice and smoothly. And knowing throughout the practice that your breath is your home base, not even in the practice, just in life in general. Your breath is your home base, the one thing that you can always come back to. And if any of the shapes today don't feel right for your body, I'll try and give options for every shape. But we're never going into a shape try to push the body as hard as we can. If there's any kind of yucky feelings in joints, or you're getting any kind of really like sort of hot or really strong pulling sensations, just make your way out of the shape or back out of it a little bit. All right, so breathing nice and smoothly. I'm going to start with the spleen meridian. Starting at the medial side of the big toe. So think that kind of inner part of the big toe. The spleen meridian runs along the inside of the foot, then turns and runs up the inside of the ankle and the shin. Up to the knee, it runs just above the liver meridian, then it runs along the top of the thigh and enters the abdominal cavity, just above the pubic bone. It connects to the spleen, so our spleen is on the left side of our body, just below our rib cage, and then the stomach, where it branches. The main branch comes to the surface and runs up the chest to the throat, where it again enters the body, going to the root of the tongue, where it spreads out. The second branch remains internal and reaches the heart, connecting to the heart meridian. So our previous session that we did was the fire element, and that is the heart and the small intestine meridian. So moving on from there. So I'm going to go through that again. Starting at the medial side of the big toe, the spleen meridian runs along the inside of the foot, then turns and runs up the inside of the ankle and the shin. Up to the knee, it runs just above the liver meridian, then it runs along the top of the thigh and enters the abdominal cavity just above the pubic bone. It connects to the spleen and then the stomach, where it branches. The main branch comes to the surface and runs up the chest to the throat, where it enters the body, going to the root of the tongue, where it spreads out. The second branch remains internal and reaches the heart, connecting to the heart meridian. So indications of spleen disharmony include stomach problems, flatulence, vomiting and bloating. Unreasonable worry may also arise. So worry, anxiety, it's kind of worrying about what's already happened or worrying about what you think may happen, can be a sign that there is some kind of stagnation in the spleen or the stomach meridian lines or channels. So taking a deep breath in, full breath out. We'll move on to the stomach meridian. Beginning at the side of the nose, the stomach meridian rises to the corner of the eye before descending along the side of the nose. Entering the upper gum, it follows the outer lips to the lower jaw toward the joint of the jaw. Here, one branch ascends along the front of the ear to the forehead. The other branch descends through the body to the diaphragm and runs to the stomach and spleen. A third branch emerges from the lower jaw and runs across the outside of the body, crossing the chest and belly and terminating in the groin. The line that runs through the stomach reconnects with this third branch and runs downward along the front of the leg, reaching the top of the foot. Here it splits again, with the main branch ending in the outside tip of the second toe. The other branch reaches the inner side of the big toe. Just below the knee, an additional branch splits off and runs to the lateral side of the third toe. So don't get too caught up in trying to remember where all that is, just knowing, or just think the front of your body. So let's go through that again. Beginning at the side of the nose, the stomach meridian rises to the corner of the eye before descending along the side of the nose. Entering the upper gum, it follows the outer lips to the lower jaw, toward the joint of the jaw. Here, one branch ascends along the front of the ear to the forehead. The other branch descends through the body to the diaphragm and runs to the stomach and spleen. A third branch emerges from the lower jaw and runs across the outside of the body, crossing the chest and belly and terminating in the groin. The line that runs through the stomach reconnects with this third branch and runs downward along the front of the leg, reaching the top of the foot. Here it splits again, with the main branch ending in the outside tip of the second toe. The other branch reaches the inner side of the big toe. Just below the knee, an additional branch splits off and runs to the lateral side of the third toe. So quite a few branches going on there. Problems with the stomach meridian may be indicated by bloating, vomiting, pain in any of the areas the meridian passes through, so the mouth, the nose, your teeth, and mental problems. Taking a breath in, breath out. Take a little moment now and thank yourself for making the time to be here. Giving yourself this space to practice. So we're going to come into our first shape. And it's going to be supported bridge. So if you're already on your back, you can stay there. If you are seated, you're going to come down onto your back, and I should have said this at the start, but having some kind of support, a bolster, you can use cushions, you can use yoga blocks, or even like big books that kind of look like yoga blocks, kind of that size, maybe a bit thicker, can also be great. So I'm going to use a bolster today. So actually, I'll start laying down on my back, bringing the feet to the floor. And then we're going to lift the hips up off the floor, so you're pressing down into the feet. Bring the support underneath your lower back, so around where your sacrum is. So kind of think lower back, it's going to turn into your hips where your butt is, and just resting that part down to the support. And you'll find a spot, it might take a little bit, just wriggle around. Find a spot where you feel like you can relax. Like you don't have any bits digging in, or you're not sort of feeling like you're overarching through the lower back. And then just take a little moment, just checking in with your shoulders, making sure they're away from your ears, connecting into the breath. So our yin practice, very passive practice. We find a position and then we relax into that position as much as we can. So with certain shapes, there's still going to be a little bit of effort needed, but ultimately we're kind of just letting the body do nothing. And by doing that, that can create tension through our fascia, through our muscles, through our ligaments and our tendons. And that's what creates that shift of energy through the system. Now your option here, you can stay with the knees bent. You can start to lengthen the legs out. As you do that, you may find that it might increase a little bit of tension through the lumbar region, so the lower back. So it's just kind of how much is too much for you, knowing that it's okay to have a little bit of that compression-like feeling there. And you may also feel that add a line of tension, maybe through the thighs, up through the front of the hips, up into the abdominal region, knowing that is where our stomach and our spleen meridian line run. if you can hear that, but one of my puppies is having a good old snore on the couch. And then your next option is to take the arms overhead. Just allowing the body, you might do a little scan through it, relaxing little bit by bit. Knowing that I will be reading from this amazing book, not that one. So the mother and the provider, that is what the earth adaptation type is known as. As the archetype for the earth adaptation type, the mother provider represent the unconditional love of a healthy mother and the nourishing qualities that exist within every person. The mother provider archetype is a pillar of her family and community, a source of unconditional love and support no matter what the situation. She creates a safe, secure, and nourishing environment, being there with a loving touch, encouraging word, and steadying hand. The earth archetype connects and supports her community to bring emotional and physical prosperity to all. Welcoming newcomers in a non-judgmental fashion, she moves with purpose to establish bonds and create community. Go through these different archetypes, through these elements, you may find that you really connect with one or maybe two. Feeling into the breath, feeling into where you feel this shape in the body. Take 3 more breaths. Nice and deep, nice and smooth. Staying on that breath out, if you can relax a little bit more. Once you've taken those 3 breaths, just slowly bending through your knees if they are straight, and just taking your time coming out of the shape. So removing the support from underneath your hips and taking any kind of movement or stillness that you feel you need. So it might feel nice to come back to the back and then hug the knees in towards the chest, or you may just want to lay flat. So just doing whatever your body is calling for. This is another reason why I love the yin practice. It really connects you into your body. And we learn to listen, because the body will communicate with you. It's always communicating with you, letting you know what it needs. Coming up to a seated position. So we're going to come into our next shape. This is always one that when I'm teaching in person, I've got a couple that absolutely love it, and then a couple that think, oh my God, why are you torturing me like this? So we're going to come into saddle. So great to use a bolster. Again, you can use cushions or pillows if you don't have a bolster. And then I will give another option as well if you really think, no, that's not for me. So you're going to start with the knees bent, sitting your hips between your feet. Option as well, you can have one leg at a time and then swap over halfway through. I will hopefully remember and give you that option if you are doing one leg. So starting with the knees bent and just starting to shift the body back. So you might get to a point where you think, oh, I can really feel a strong stretch. So you would stay there. So we're going to need a little bit of effort here from the upper body so we can start to get this lengthening through the front of the legs. Coming down though as far as feels okay for you, and you can build up the support to where you need it. So make the ground meet you where you're at. So again, having one leg out, maybe two legs are bent. And then the option, if you need to, is to come onto your butt, bring the legs out like in this kind of position. So it's sort of like a half deer kind of shape. And then again, start to lean back like that. So you're going to mainly be focusing on this one here, but then swapping over halfway through, which I will give you that option. And then of course, coming into full saddle, if that is in your practice. So again, you might feel a compressive like feeling through that lower back region. But we are looking for sensation through the front side of the body. If there's any kind of yucky feelings through the knees, make your way out of the shape, please. You may feel a pulling like sensation through the front of the thighs, maybe that's coming all the way up into your abdominal region. And I always get a good bit of a giggle in person, but relaxing into this shape as much as you can. So remember your breath, breathing in smoothly, breathing out smoothly. The qualities for the earth archetype arise from the essence of what the earth element represents in Chinese medicine. Mother Earth, home, the grounding, support, and orientation for our lives. The earth element is the fertile soil that allows plants to grow and flourish to provide nourishment and sustenance. It gives protection and shelter as well as stability and substance. The earth element represents the valleys, mountains and meadows, plains and canyons that define human existence. In ancient societies, the connection and commerce between distant tribes moving along the highways on earth established communities and brought civilization to a higher level. Planet Earth carries us through the darkness of space with security and stability. In the person, nourishment, satisfaction, contentment, and sensuality are all associated with the earth element. Being centered, calm and balanced, feeling at home, and having a sense of harmony and peacefulness are the essence of a healthy earth energy. So if you are doing one leg at a time, just taking a little moment now and changing sides. And again, just feeling into the sensations. So knowing that you think these elements or this Chinese medicine is a little bit too far-fetched for you. You get nothing else out of this but a nice release through your system, nice release through your connective tissue and your muscles, then that is a win. Option as well, come bringing the arms up overhead. So the sensations may be really strong, they might be really subtle. Just feeling into that. So another thing I love about the yin practice is it's not necessarily easy, not always comfortable. It can be quite challenging, and this is where we get to practice that kind of mental state of calming ourselves down, knowing that your breath is the best way to do that. And then knowing that we're not here forever. This will come to an end in a few little moments. Take 3 more breaths. It's going to be a pretty intense one to come out of. So using your breath, so breathing in, draw the belly in, and then just kind of roll up as you breathe out. Woo. Do whatever you need to do. It might be a downward facing dog, it might be a child's pose, just reversing that curve through the spine. Take your time, grab yourself a drink if you need it. Just staying connected into your body. It can be easy to get distracted and maybe want to look at your phone or do something else. As much as you can though, to stay connected into the body. So lots happening even when we've moved out of the shape. Get that big energy shift. All right, so coming on to your buttocks. So we're going to come into a shape called shoelace. So there's a couple of different ways that we can work through the meridian lines, and we can either stretch them or kind of open up. So think here, if we're doing the back of the legs, we'd be folding forward, we'd be releasing them, or we can compress them like that. So the knees are bent and that would be compressing the meridian line. So the stomach and spleen, so coming up through the front of the leg and then also through the inner thigh as well. So what we're going to be doing here is compressing it. And option 1 is to, well, first of all, find your sit bone. So you might need to move a little bit of buttocks out of the way if you've got some there. And sitting up nice and tall. So you're going to start with your, I think I'll mirror you guys. Hopefully this is the right leg for you guys. So your right leg is going to come up and over the left. That might be where you stay. And you can start to kind of squeeze that in. Keep the spine long, so you're sitting up nice and tall. So a little bit of effort needed from the upper body, starting to pull that leg into the body. Option 2 is to bring the left leg underneath, and we kind of start to get this shoelace type shape. I think that's why it's called shoelace. Just gonna get off that rug. And you might get the knees and the knees on top of each other, you might not. Main thing is that you got both your butt cheeks on the floor. You can sit tall, and then the option is to fold forward. And we can use things like blocks or bolsters. You might want to rest the forehead down to a block or a bolster. And then just taking your time to ease into the shape. There's no rush. Breathe nice and smoothly. And just again, checking in where you feel that in the body. So you might be like, I'm feeling this really struggling around the outside of my hips, which I am at the moment. Again, just noticing that, breathing into it. And our shapes aren't just going to target one specific line. So shapes are usually going to target most of them, but it's our intention that we're using when we are in a shape. So what do we want to focus on? What do we want to work on? Poorly adapted earth types also can become excessively self-sacrificing and do everything for others while ignoring their own needs and not caring for themselves. They are out of touch with their own harvest and are not sustained by their own earth energy. Their focus on caring for everyone else gives them a reason to go on. Generally helpful and compliant, even when under stress, they can go out of their way to help even when that behavior is inappropriate. Earth adaptation types feel anxious and insecure when there is a threat to the stable and predictable lifestyle that often they adopt. Their response to stress can include excessive worry, even to the point of obsession with issues. If they feel their support system is failing them, they can become even more self-absorbed, rejecting of attention, and bitter and nasty in demeanor. They can also become very needy, again, looking for attention and understanding. Instead of reaching out in a healthy manner, maladapted earth adaptation types can reject care and offers of assistance from other people. Typically, a seemingly calm demeanor hides an internal sense of intense uneasiness. Under stress, the earth adaptation type can become more inwardly focused and stubborn, with strong opinions and selfish behavior. So again, you may think, oh, I've been through that before in my life, or maybe going through that at the moment. Am I never going to be, we're not always going to be in balance. There's going to be times in life when we feel really good and feel really connected, and then other times not so much. It's when we kind of become constantly maybe in not the best way that we really need to start to do something about that. And that first of all takes awareness, and then knowing what to do, which can also be a challenge. Taking 3 more breaths. And then slowly pressing yourself back up if you were folded forward. Unwind the legs, bring them out in front. You might give them a little bit of a wriggle, a little bit of a shake. Whew. Just do whatever you need to do. Windshield wiper can feel quite nice. Of course, what we do to one side, we do to the next. So sitting up nice and tall. And then just taking whatever option works best for you on this side. So it might feel a little bit different to the other side. So just working with that, don't try and force it to make it be the same. So we're not completely symmetrical. We're always going to have some kind of asymmetries happening in the body. Generally pretty normal. So just easing your way into the shape. So all we want to feel is some kind of sensation. So that first sign of sensation is generally where we want to go to first. And then we use the breath, we let the breath be the invitation to take the pose deeper. I'm just going to let you kind of baste in this now and just see if you can practice every time the mind wanders off thinking about whatever it's thinking about, which it will. See if you can first of all become aware of that and then just bring it back into your breath, bring it back into the sensations in the body. Every time you do that, that's a little win for your brain, a little win for your system. It's that ability to refocus. Breathing smoothly. Where do you feel it in the body? Are they strong sensations? Are they really deep? It might be a little bit more superficial. Take 3 more breaths. And then slowly pressing yourself back up, unwinding the legs, doing whatever you feel you need to do. And then when you're ready, coming over to your stomach. Just 2 more shapes for our practice. So laying down onto the belly. And let's take a little moment there. Might wriggle the hips. Move that back out of the way. So our next shape is going to be Sphinx. I'm just going to take this cardi off. So it's going to be Sphinx. So from the ground, you're going to press up to the forearms. Elbows are going to line up underneath your shoulders. And we press into the forearms, lifting the chest. Keep the shoulders away from your ears. So just take a little moment, turn the head from side to side. Just make sure you can move that with no kind of jammed up, yucky feelings in your neck. And then a few different options here. So if you feel like that's way too strong, moving your forearms out a little further, and that's just going to allow the belly to drop down to the floor a little more. Just make sure you're not hunching up around the ears. So you can stay obviously with the elbows under the shoulders. And then with the lower body, if you feel like, or if you have some issues with the lower back and you just feel like, oh, this just doesn't feel safe for me to completely relax, just a light little glute engagement will take some of the compressive like feeling away from that lower back region. If you know you've got no known lower back issues, you can start to let the glutes, let the leg muscles relax. Even let the belly relax, so draping it down into the floor. So just knowing that that can bring a feeling, like a compressive like feeling through the lower back region. Again, it's just how much is too much, and that is your knowing in your own body. And then just come into your breath. Again, our yin practice is so simple. It can purely be that physical thing where it's just, I'm just here stretching, I'm just here holding a shape, focusing on my breath, focusing on sensations, feeling the belly press into the floor on the breath in. And as you breathe out, letting that go naturally. Might feel this through the front of your hips up into your stomach area. And close the eyes if that feels okay. Just softening the face, softening the jaw and the tongue. Yi, the
spiritual quality of earth. So yi, I think it's yi, I could be wrong. If I am, please correct me. Y-I is the spelling. The spiritual quality associated with the earth element is yi, translated as intent, memory, and thought. Yi contains the memory of feelings, smells, and touch, including the first memories of life, whether the positive experience of being on the mother's breast or the coldness and fear of a sterile hospital room. Often those early memories are indelible, setting us on a path of knowing either security and nourishment or abandonment and rejection. Imagine spending your whole life searching for comfort, acceptance, and the deep knowledge that everything is all right. This can be the outcome if the spiritual quality of yi is not well developed. Yi is the center, the direction of the earth element in traditional Chinese medicine, the stabilizing and grounding influence from past memories, the quieting of introspection, and the functions of thought and intellectual activity. Yi is also the memory of the immune system as it remembers viruses and bacteria, which is a reason the earth element, your spleen, is often associated with immunity. Yi also translates as intent. The Neijing states, empty the heart and balance the intent and you will enjoy natural conduct. In Chinese cosmology, the spirit of heaven is held in the heart and takes on the burdens of the 10,000 beings. When healthy, the heart empties of all and fills with these burdens, caring for those in need. When people become selfish and self-centered, they are breaking with the spirit of heaven, losing the natural conduct and heading toward maladaptation. When people act with intent by supporting and caring for others, they achieve natural conduct and enhance their health and adaptation. Breathing smoothly, seeing if as you hold the shape, as you use the breath, you may be able to start to relax a little bit more. You might find you might go from squeezing your butt to relaxing the butt. Taking 3 more breaths. You've taken those 3 breaths, just doing whatever you feel you need to do to come out of the shape. So may just be lying down back to the belly. You might windshield wiper the feet from side to side. Can feel nice to come into a child's pose or a downward facing dog. So again, just listening to your body and doing what you feel you need to do. Coming over onto your buttocks again. So one last shake before we move into our final resting position is going to be caterpillar. So sitting onto your buttocks again, you might need to move a little bit of the flesh away just to find the sit bones. And with our caterpillar, so we're going to be compressing the meridian line. So coming up the front of the legs. So we're tipping from the hip to come forward. It's not about having the legs as straight as you can and then kind of rounding through the back like this to you think you want to have the legs straight. Lengthen through the spine first, so start sitting up nice and tall.
So you may need to bend your knees, and you may need to bend them a lot. So more, we're not going for a hamstring stretch here, we're going for compression of the spleen and the stomach meridian lines. So you may need to bend the knees, and then we allow the body to fold forward and then roll over the thighs. Now you may be able to have the legs straight and be able to come into this shape with no kind of yucky feelings through the lower back. Obviously you might feel that through the hamstrings and the lower back region. Again, it's just kind of what works best for your body. So we're not forcing the body into a shape that it isn't meant to be in. You've got a couple of different options. You can use a little bit of effort from the upper body. You might grab the feet or somewhere along the legs, depending on where you are, and start to kind of pull yourself forward. Or you can just let the upper body go, let the head hang, let gravity do its thing. Can also feel nice to bring something in front and then resting down to the support. Taking your time, breathing smoothly. The virtue for the earth adaptation type is service. Service and altruism are the path out of the self-absorption, I can't speak, worry and lack of contentment that are common in the maladapted state for the earth type. Poorly adapted earth adaptation types put satisfying their needs ahead of others, often because as children they lacked nourishment. They have difficulty being truly empathetic when they feel so deprived themselves. Service, physically helping others, whether through volunteering or career, leads out of this inwardly focused nature into true empathy and caring. Feeling the breath move through the body. As you breathe in, you might feel the whole back body expand. You might feel the belly press down into the thighs or support. And as you breathe out, just letting it go naturally. You may find over time that the body starts to give a little bit more. Take 3 more breaths. My stomach's starting to do a little bit of a gurgle. Something's happening here. And once you've taken those 3 breaths, just slowly coming up. Do whatever you feel you need to do. And then coming down onto your back, setting yourself up for your final resting position. And while you do that, I'm just going to go through a list. So 10 keys for adaptation for the earth type. So if you're feeling like you really connect with this earth energy, things that you can do to start to bring yourself back into balance if you're feeling like you're a little bit maladapted. but also stuff to do just for everyone in general. So remembering that we all have these energies within us, and yeah, it's just things that we can all do to deal with the stresses of life a little bit better. Replace worry with reflection and action. Practice empathy and compassion. Seek out satisfaction and contentment. Altruism and service. Practice gratitude. Practice good self-care. Affiliate and join. Maintain good nutrition and eating habits. Take care of your digestive system. Commitment and security. So just allowing the body now to, well, allowing the body and the mind just to let go of all of that. Letting yourself rest into the ground. You might be in a seated position. If you're laying down, it can feel nice to bring support underneath your knees, or maybe underneath your head. Make sure you're warm. Make sure you're comfortable. You can rest the hands by your side or maybe somewhere on your body. Just giving yourself this time. Letting the practice take hold of your system. If you feel you need to stay longer, please do. Otherwise, taking a breath in, breath out. Slowly starting to move the body. Taking your time, you might roll to one side for a little moment. And you come back to a seated position. Just keeping the eyes closed or coming into a soft gaze. Heaven is eternal, the earth endures. Serve the needs of others, and your own needs will be fulfilled. Through selfless action, fulfillment is attained. Thanking yourself for making time for this practice. Namaste. I hope you enjoyed. So the second part of our series is remembering that you don't have to do these in order. You can do whichever one you connect with or whichever one you feel you need. And I will see you for our next installment, which you'll find out what that is when we get there. So thank you very much, and I will see you next time.